All right, folks, this is show number 4 between myself, and the rumor is I do have a name, and Richard Liersch. And the show is called Mark Isaac Potter Presents. I don't know where we got that title. And Richard and I are such chatterboxes that in between shows, we don't stop talking. But we stop each show so we can individually process, convert to the MP4. So Richard, where in the hell were we? And we did 5 stories we can't record, and we were going to
Yeah,
talk about community access. What do you want to
yeah.
talk about?
Well, I mean, I was thinking about if we do community access, I think it would be fun to talk about our life experiences
Mm-hmm.
because, people, they want to hear about it. That's all we do is talk. We always communicate with one another.
Mm-hmm.
And some people just like to watch the tube.
Yeah.
And
No,
between you and
some
I,
people, everybody.
yeah. And it'd be fun
Yeah.
just to sit and listen to you and I chit chat about some of our life experiences and and
Yeah.
have and have fun because you've got a lot of background in television and
You don't know the half of it, sir. I'm telling
and
you. I could sit here and say 5 phrases and you'd fall off your chair. Stuff I've
I'm
been
ready to do
through.
it.
Huh?
I'm ready to do it. Go
No,
ahead.
no. I'm not going there right now. It's too dark.
Okay.
I've been through some really dark stuff, but people generally know it. I usually say something on camera.
Um, well, I'll tell you one. I had my wife would once in a while I'll take her along with when I have a television recording and
Okay.
this particular lady lives in a nursing home and her husband owned a huge dealership, a car dealership, and
Okay.
she she has one eye.
All right.
And
She's in a nursing home nowadays?
yeah, I mean she's about 90 years old.
Okay.
So I'm recording all these different people in the nursing home, and a lot of them were World War II people, and a lot of them were talking about their life experiences, and some were involved in music, and others were involved in education. So I said to this little lady, I said, "Tell me, do you have a little story that would be cute for us?" And she said, "Yeah."
Well,
That started it off.
yeah, no kidding.
So
12 years later. Yeah.
So she says, yeah, she said, my dad, she said, now this is when back in the time when they had stoves in the house were fueled by wood. Mom did all the cooking on a wooden stove. And
Yeah.
she said, for whatever reason, she, this is strange, but her mom is cooking on the stove and she's opening up a package from her husband, who is a salesman on the road.
Okay.
And so she opened up this box, and her
Right.
daughter standing next to her, and she happened to hit the stove with her arm and jerked back and had a knife in her hand. That was what was in the box, and got her in the eye.
Yeah.
And she lost her eye.
That's a shame.
She
It really
was,
was.
and she was just a little kid.
Yeah.
Just so she lived through life with this, but she said when I went to school, she said I had a little bag of eyeballs. And she said that for whatever reason, she said, I thought, well, I'll take them to school. And so she takes this little bag of eyeballs in a little leather bag pouch she had, and they fell on the floor.
Okay.
And these kids, she said, they were grabbing my eyeballs, and she says they were playing marbles with my eyeballs. And I'm thinking, how a story like this, you have to visualize her eyeballs are all over the floor and these kids are playing with them like they're marbles. And
Where did she get the eyeballs in the first place?
her mother had them made up.
Oh, an artificial one or
Artificial eyeballs, yeah.
because the
And
girl had already lost her eye as a child?
yeah, and so she was only, about 12 years old, 10
Okay.
or 10 years old.
Wow.
And as you're recording these stories, you just ask, well, you have any close calls in life?
Mm.
and I've had a bunch of them.
Yeah,
Almost
yeah,
hit, almost hit by a train.
yeah.
Uh,
Mm,
we, uh, you know, I'll tell you a close call. You want to hear one
okay.
before we get done here? We're talking about close. I had a chance to go hunting with a bunch of kids from high school, and
Okay.
um, we all had shotguns and we all had what they call the community service land, public. They call it public land.
Mm,
You can go out there and hunt. Nobody's going to say because you're on your property.
right,
So we go out there and they said um, the town sheriff or cop, police chief wanted
right.
to go with us. We all knew him, and he was kind of
Okay.
like it was old. This is old farm country now we were talking about,
Right.
and he said, "You don't want to bring him along. Don't
Mm,
bring him along. He's the chief, but he doesn't know how to handle a gun."
oh,
So I'm thinking, are you serious? He says,
oh
he's a nice
boy.
guy. Go to school with his daughter. He seems like a nice guy. He says, yeah, but he is not. He doesn't know how to do it. So at any rate,
Huh.
we go out there and everybody's got their shotgun. About 6 or 7 of us guys, and we're all marching in the line. It's pheasants. You know how pheasants jump up, and then you just everybody fires, and as long as you're in a row, this works out really well. So I guess Elroy kind of fell behind, falling further behind, and all of a sudden
Oh my God.
the guys are looking at me, and I'm up in front there, with left,
Mm,
and all of a sudden a pheasant jumps up.
all right.
The pheasant jumps up, he pulls up his rifle, and I'm seeing, oh no, he's got it aimed at me. So I drop down, and a pheasant flies over my head. I hit the ground, and right alongside of me was this big old wooden post, for
Okay.
barbed wire.
Right.
All of a sudden, here, a whole thing right, just over my head,
No, Trish.
and I'm thinking,
Boy.
I'm thinking how close I can to get my head blown off by the chief of police, and we never took him along with us again,
Mm,
but we had all kinds of stories like that. I could share them on the channel. You know what I'm
yeah, yeah.
saying? We could talk about
Oh yeah. No, we've
all our
got
different
hundreds. We
experience.
between the two of us, we got hundreds of stories.
Yeah,
Your internet is doing something interesting.
I got back up
I
again.
and I don't mean that in a good way. So it's like where you are in Wisconsin, it's what, 7:45 or 6:45?
What do we got here?
6:45.
5:40, 5:45. We're 2 hours ahead of you out there.
Okay.
You're not going to get. We're done with the sun, and you're waiting for it.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's a certain time of day when your Wi-Fi, because tell us again for sake of today's audience, you're using your phone hotspot for a Wi-Fi?
Yes. And what happens in our area? People are coming home from work, and they
Right.
all jump on, and the kids come home from school or whatever, and they jump on the internet and they start using the tower, using all that energy
Well,
up.
that's what I'm thinking.
And
That's why you slowed down. Your image slowed down.
am I okay now?
You are now, but I'm just saying
Yeah, that's because a
when
lot
we
of people
tape
are.
tomorrow or the next day, we'll have to. How early do you get up in the morning?
I get up about 6:30, and I'm going to bed right around 1.
AM?
Yep.
You're like me. Gee whiz. Let me.
Can't.
I'm taking all these notes, and I don't know whether they're any good because half the time I can't read what I wrote. I've never been a
You and
doctor,
I were
but
talking.
huh?
You and I were talking about putting this on
Yeah,
channels.
yeah, yeah. We
About
were, and we may get to it too. I'm looking for my. I'm looking at my. I wish my timer would show up louder. Yeah, we're doing fine. We've only used about 10 minutes out of 30. So we've got 20
yeah,
minutes.
and
So
the thing is,
Yeah, go ahead.
You and I were talking about, trying to get someone to help with the story that I wrote, and it's so
All right.
difficult to get people
Right.
to volunteer.
Well, read it or edit it or be interested or talk to anybody. We talked to one, you and I talked to one literary agent whose name we will not mention,
Exactly.
who may or may not be blocking us from talking to him or her again because for some reason the emails keep bouncing, even though I've double checked the. At first, I did have her name wrong, and
Yeah.
I'll look again to see whether it's actually still wrong or not. But
You have her
I
phone
don't.
number.
This time around, I don't think I've spelled it wrong, and yet it keeps bouncing. So I don't
But
know what the hell
that's a
we're going
hard
to do
thing.
about that. But my idea, as we talked about, is for us to go to IMDb. Have you ever been there on the internet?
No.
All right, maybe I'll go over there now. Is that all right? I want to see what
Sure.
their plus. They have a free program, but like most free programs, it's very limited. And they have a more expensive, of course, they have a more expensive program that gives you a little bit more access, or maybe more than a little bit, to literary agents in Hollywood and all that. It's called
I see. Yeah.
IMDb. I'm going over there now. It's called IMDb, which stands for International Movie Database. And the kids probably think this is already old fashioned, I would imagine, this site, but it's imdb.com. They have TV shows nowadays, they broadcast shows, plus they can give you access to some access to literary managers and agents and like that. I'm pushing the button now and trying to get it to come up, but I'm also going to go. My computer is somewhat slow too because I got so many windows open. I got three sets of
Yeah,
five
that'll slow
windows
it
open.
down.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
don't
see
know.
that
I
that would
hate
be
to
good
close
for
them all
me.
and open them back up again, but anyway. So let me say something about the community access movement, and maybe I'll mention this more than once in different shows
Hmm.
because it's really how I got my training. Uh, there is a system in the United States which I would like to encourage people to use. It's called the Community Access System, and it's was started by Congress back in the God knows what 70s, 80s, whatever. And I guess I'm please bear in mind that I'm also looking at for IMDb and googling phrases like how much does IMDb Plus cost and all that.
Uh,
But
Are you a
there,
member?
no, because I don't. I already spend trillions of dollars every second doing the run rate for my business is ridiculous. We lose a serious amount of money every month.
Oh
So
boy,
that's not good.
I'm losing
Um,
part of your chin here.
sir,
Your computer, you're out of vision here.
am I?
Yeah, you gotta set your
Huh.
picture.
Standing right, I'm right here where
Your
I've always
camera's a
been.
little bit, the camera's off.
Really? Okay. How about that?
There you go.
Well,
Now
I
you're,
thought I'm gonna move around. It's gonna be that way sometimes. Um, Sugarfoot. I'm sure I was saying something. I don't know what it was. Oh, here. I'm trying to get the price for IMDb Plus cost. Let me see. And let me see if I put in Google IMDb cost. IMDb Pro Prime Day sale. Join our lowest price this year. Get the annual membership for $95. after a 30-day free trial,
Mhm.
unlock an IMDb Pro membership, boost your career in film and TV, blah blah blah. So that's not a bad price. It's just, I spend so much money every month. I hesitate to do it because
Sure.
the only person right now I'm doing it for is you. I had another
Yeah.
person that wanted to do a syndicated network, and
Well, you want to do that.
they're slowly backing out of the deal.
Here's the story. The only reason I got a call from Road America the other day.
From who?
This is the Road America, the
Road
racetrack.
America?
Yeah, this is the racetrack I was telling you about, where the movie
Okay,
is taking place. And
right.
they called me and told me that, um, for whatever reason they don't have the connections with them, but they told me there was someone that's looking for filming movies at racetracks. I said, she said it's Mark Wahlberg.
Ah,
So, and
okay.
I said to contact him is impossible. And
Yeah,
she said,
yeah,
well, he has a producer and it's
yeah.
his best
They all
friend.
they all have an agent and all that other stuff, a team. And you can sometimes get a hold of the team if you really, if you're serious, and you may eventually have to pay out some money for some of this stuff. That's the other
Yeah,
thing.
and his best friend is called Stephen Levinson.
I've heard the name. I've heard the name.
And that
Yeah.
is the fellow that produces his shows with him. And he
Yeah, I've
just
heard
got
that. I've heard that name before. I'm not connected with Hollywood, but sometimes I suggest to people that I am, which is probably a sin, but you know, I am trying to get farther along because I've got several people in my wheelhouse that want me to try to help them with shows and radio and podcasts and books and God knows what else. So including yourself.
well, I don't want to drain you.
Mm,
It's
too late for that.
too-
I'm having fun.
you really got into it with both feet, jumped right straight in to
Well,
help.
what good has it done us so far? It really hasn't yet.
Well, it's okay. I you have a ton of energy and a ton of, you know, good heart to really follow through with things that
I hope
no
so.
one has ever done this.
It's just going to mean that everybody that wants something for free will call me instead of the people that want to pay for it. So I'm teaching everybody exactly the wrong thing.
Yeah, I'm at that point where I feel like helping people, and
You do or do not.
pardon?
You do or do not feel like helping people.
I do. I like helping people.
Oh, okay. All right.
I like help, and as far
Yeah,
as
yeah.
their life stories and
Yep.
um, they
I'm
need
trying to
advice,
decide whether I really want to spend $95 on this thing.
it's not worth it. No.
Well,
And you might,
I've burned through most of my savings in our business, and I just don't know. I'm gonna have to think about it.
no, it's not worth that.
I'd like to go, you know what I might do? Well, I don't think Chat GTP would tell me much. I'd like to ask one of the AIs what I'm gonna get for my membership. Like will I get access to agents or not? But
Right. And do you
this
really need it? I mean, you might have
well,
someone
and
in your
this
audience.
this 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 precludes the fact or changes is different from the fact that the community access system is entirely different than this. It's not Hollywood, it's not managers. It is
Yeah.
a very strange, quirky system of fiefdoms, little fiefdoms, and the kids are going to call and say, "What's a fiefdom?" A little,
Yeah.
little groups of power that are all different, extremely different from each other. And when you try to build a syndication like this, you have to go to every individual station and see whether or not they will accept your show,
Hmm.
right? So it's been done. I had a group, I work at a place still remotely now, but still I work at a TV station called KMV, MV like Mountain View, KMVT 15. And the reason I emphasize the 15 is, believe it or not, there's another KMVT in the United States, which is completely not allowed to exist. Neither one of them is, because they're not supposed to be the same. There's two that have the same call letters, because we've run into it now for I've been with these people 23 years. Our station is KMVT15.org. That's the website. And they're one of these many, one of the 700 community access stations in the United States that were created by the legislation of Congress. And they're paid for by, when you get your telephone bill, there's a little surcharge on there,
Sure.
like $1 or 75 cents or something. And this, every community pays in, and it helps fund these stations. So when you go to one of these places, you can learn how to do television from scratch. And that's how I learned. Back in 2000, 2001, I went there and I went as a volunteer almost every day, Monday through Friday, for a year.
Oh, wow.
And I would volunteer. I would, at that time, they had a program where you could do work credits to pay for the classes, because they have like 5 or 6 major series, not just 5 classes, but series of classes that you can take. And they all cost, at that time, back in the 2001, they cost like $50 to $100 each. But I worked it off, by doing stuff around the station. And I'm still a part of it to this day. I won the Volunteer of the Year award twice. I won the Lifetime Achievement Award over there. All of my statues got destroyed. I'm adverse to having people know that I've ever won anything. So all of that is to say that if we put in a lot of work, like hundreds of hours, we could call each one of these, these community access type stations around the United States. And I pick the ones in the big cities, and especially the ones where nearby where we are. So I would pick for you, I'd pick Wisconsin. And we just call them each up and say, would you consider running this show? And that's going to be it's going to be an ugly process, because they're all quirky, and they're all volunteers, and everybody's got their idea of what they want, and their whole team is going to disagree on whether to have your show. But I have seen one group at KMVT 15 build a syndicate. Took them about 10 years. They built a syndicate of 50 of these stations around the United States. And they had a show. Most shows have like 1 or 2 volunteers. They had a show with 15 volunteers. And all 15 of those volunteers were working on calling these stations around the United States and trying to get their show in the door.
What was the theme of the show?
I don't remember, but it's probably still up on the KMBT YouTube channel. But it's music. It's an Indian, East Indian music with sitars and all that. It's
Sure.
very beautiful show, very long. It goes on forever. But they build up a syndication of about 50 stations around the country.
Do they get
So,
paid?
and
Is that the
it's
idea?
all, by the way, it's all free. You're not allowed to say anything about a business on that type of show. That's why you and I don't do your show on their station. We're doing our show separately. I've got a separate show with them called In Our Community, where everything is nonprofits, 501c3s. But it's still possible because some of those stations, even though we're going to take this show where we talk about business, and we can pitch it to them, because I think the the Federal Communication Commission is not paying as much attention as they used to about the rules. The rules say we're not allowed to do it,
Mm-hmm.
which really does get, worries me about doing bad things and all that. So I may change my mind tomorrow and say, no, we're not. And besides that, it's extremely labor intensive. So there's that approach. The other approach, of course, is IMDb, where we just go in and try to pay for access to, agents of producers and that kind of stuff, and pitch our show or pitch the book. It's almost a book. 83 pages is a short book nowadays.
Yeah.
Pitch one or the other. But again, it's very labor intensive, and it's always, well, let me think about it and let me talk to my partner. And it's an endless amount of, patience and disruption and people changing their minds. I'd like to see you get at least an option on a movie. That would bring you a little cash. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I forgot to even pay attention. That's why I've got an alarm here. All right, kids. We have as do you remember what were their names? Tic Tac, Hit and Miss. What were their names? Those two the car talk guys?
Oh, yeah, I forget the
Clip and clap. The
click and
tar
clack, click and clack.
They
Yeah.
used to say we've wasted a perfectly good hour of your time now. Again, that's what they used to say. But anyway, we're gonna go. We love you guys. Of course, I once again have to figure out how to turn off the stop record button or turn on the stop record button. And every show, I've got to turn my head and try to figure out what the hell I'm doing. And it looks ridiculous, and everybody criticizes me for it. So that's so nice that people are willing to criticize me for it. Let me see. All right, so we're out of here, kids. We love you. Remember, it's Richard Liersch, Mark Isaac Potter, blah, blah, blah. All
Thank
right.
you.
All right, guys.